Mark Carney's just days away from being sworn in as Prime Minister, and with a federal election expected soon, Carney says he and the Liberal Party are ready.
Yes, the transition between the Prime Minister and myself, that transition will be seamless and it will be quick. Finally, I, as you may have heard, just had a meeting with the caucus. There is tremendous energy in the Liberal caucus. As you saw last evening, this is a united party with full of energy to serve Canadians.
CBC's Marina von Sackelberg has been following this story from our Ottawa bureau. And Marina, what's the latest when it comes to Mark Carney?
Things are moving very fast here in Ottawa, of course, over the last few days and today as well. And we know that from Mark Carney's team, some news tonight. Carney says he has divested all of his assets into a blind trust other than his personal real estate. Now, this is something that prime ministers are required to do within 4 months of being sworn in. And the Conservatives have been calling on Carney to disclose his personal financial holdings to the Ethics Commission. Now, he was not required to do that as a candidate for the Liberal leadership. It's not known how many American investments Carney does have. So news tonight on that. And this comes after a day of Carney having his first day as the Liberal leader. He did meet with Liberal MPs, as he mentioned there in his clip. Coming out, MPs were talking to reporters saying they felt that the party was invigorated, that it had a shot in the arm. I want to throw to a clip of Transport Minister Anita Anand this evening after Cabinet had met about her feelings under Mark Carney. Have a listen.
Caucus was uplifting. We got to fight and win the next election together. And in order to do that, we have to be unified. And everybody in the room was right there with him. So we'll be strong going forward. And it's going to be quite the force in the election.
She went on to say that if last night showed them anything, it was that the Liberal team was united. And Carney did pull off a very sizable win. He was seen as a front runner, but managed to get 86% of the vote. That's actually more support than Justin Trudeau got when he won the Liberal leadership. Now, some MPs saying today they're very happy with the fact that Mark Carney is offering to, saying that he will take away some of the things that have been really unpopular with Canadian voters, things like the consumer carbon tax, the capital gains tax hikes. Some MPs coming out of those meetings today saying, we think an election should be called right away. But there's some things that have to happen here first. There's some logistical steps that need to go on. So first of all, a handover. We know that Carney met with Justin Trudeau for about 2 hours today. We know that Mark Carney actually needs to be sworn in as the Prime Minister, and then he needs to pick a cabinet. He could, keep some ministers in their portfolios. He could change them. I would say it's probably unlikely for him to shuffle out certain cabinet ministers that have been really key in dealing with the U.S. president and Canada-U.S. relations. But he could downsize the cabinet. He could bring some people into the cabinet who aren't MPs. It's not unheard of, although it's not very common, but especially leading into an election, that could very much be the case. But current and former cabinet ministers, before speaking with Carney today, talking about the excitement that they feel. Have a listen.
We have a lot of momentum, and I think for all the right reasons, he is the right guy to be able to deal with Donald Trump, and I think it's all to the good.
I think we are very ready for an election. I think the party, what you saw yesterday, was able to pull together, a leadership campaign in 2 months very effectively.
Excited about hearing from our new leader, Mark, and I'm excited about us winning the next election.
Mr. Carney is a very good man for this moment, and I hope that we can convince the Canadian people of that very fact.
You can never count the Liberal Party out.
You saw Chrystia Freeland and Karina Gould, two of Mark Carney's opponents, speaking there. They were both cabinet ministers not that long ago, so will they get their jobs back in the cabinet? They have said that if he offered them a position, they would be willing to take it. But there are other things too here. Staffing. CBC News has confirmed that 2 former high-profile cabinet ministers will be helping with Mark Carney's transition. That includes former Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino and former Justice Minister David Lametti. But sources tell us that many of Trudeau's former staff will be replaced.
I'm not asking for a prediction here, but what do we know about the next election?
It's very soon. It's likely that it will be very, very soon. If you remember, right now, Parliament is prorogued and it is set to return in a few weeks, but it's likely that Carney could call an election before that. Liberals tell us that they have about half of their candidates nominated, 160 out of the 343 seats there will be. But a big question is, where will Carney run? Of course, he does not have a seat in Parliament. He has never been a member of Parliament. And so he was asked again today where he will be running. But, this is a question, this is something that the opposition has been calling for a long time, especially the Conservatives, calling since last summer for an election. And today, the Conservatives were out speaking about Mark Carney, essentially saying this is the same Liberal Party. They were actually handing out a photo of Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau from last night, asking, does this look like change to you? Have a listen to Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives.
The Liberal establishment has installed Justin Trudeau's economic advisor as the next Liberal leader to trick Canadians into giving Liberals a fourth term in power. But he's just like Justin, and he's more of the same. We have the same Liberal MPs, the same Liberal advisors, the same Liberal promises, who will produce the same Liberal results.
Pierre Poilievre saying today he is ready to go for an election. The other opposition leaders, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet, asked if they would be ready to go. Have a listen.
We'll be able to run a fully funded campaign, the best campaign funding that I've had as leader. So I'm looking forward to a well-funded campaign, and we're ready to go.
If Mr. Carney was to start an election in the coming minute, let's wait. We're ready. Let's go.
And a sign of how quickly things are moving, I want to pull up a photo here. A photo of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a Reuters photo out today from Carlos Osorio. That is Prime Minister Justin Trudeau holding his House of Commons chair, walking out of the chamber with his tongue out. Now, I'm told that it's common for MPs to buy their chairs after they leave office.
That is quite a picture. Thanks, Marina.
No problem.
Mark Carney had a busy day on Parliament Hill, the new Liberal leader, speaking with the outgoing Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Carney says they discussed pressing issues like Canada-US relations and national security. Carney has yet to say when he intends to take power, but promises the government handover will be a seamless and quick transition. All right, for some analysis on this, we've reached Mario Canseco. He is the president of Research Co., as well as a pollster and columnist for Glacier Media, and he joins us from Victoria. Mario, let's look at some of the major challenges facing Carney, beginning with this one: when to call the election.
Well, that is the million-dollar question, of course. There's some guidance from the past that suggests that it's not always the best strategy. What happened to John Turner after just 71 days in office when he was booted out after Brian Mulroney's PC party won a massive landslide. It's a tough one because on the one side, you could think about a situation where you can steer some policy through as the head of government in Canada. You can talk a little bit about how to deal with Donald Trump and try to get Canadians to know you better. Or you can call it immediately, capitalizing on what happened over the weekend and see what happens.
Another challenge for Carney, he's not very well known to most Canadians. There was a poll a few months ago where people were shown a picture of him and very few recognized the picture. So how does he get people to consider him, not only just to know him, but consider him as worthy of winning an election?
Well, in a way, I think it's similar to what happened with Pierre Poilievre in the early stages after he became leader of the federal Conservatives. There was a situation where you needed somebody who wasn't Justin Trudeau to talk to people. I think he's done a remarkable job engaging with young Canadians who usually don't vote for the Conservatives. And I think Mark Carney could do something similar right now. Just try to figure out a way to engage with those who are worried about Donald Trump, try to talk about certain things that he would do, and ultimately touting his experience and his gravitas when it comes to managing finances in Canada and in the UK to try to establish an emotional connection with voters, which is really the key to the exercise. I think there's an opportunity to talk to Canadians who are dissatisfied and who maybe were very dissatisfied with Justin Trudeau and who are now trying to figure out where to go now that he's no longer on the ballot.
Mark Carney says he'll scrap the consumer carbon tax on families and farmers and small and medium-sized businesses. So that tax was an irritant, obviously, to some people, but at the same time, it was a signature policy of the Trudeau Liberals. So how does this issue play out for him, do you think?
Well, I think it's an opportunity to discuss the environment in a different way. I think what we've seen over the past couple of years is housing really rising as an issue at the national level is no longer something that is essentially happening only in BC and in Ontario. More concerns about healthcare from those age 55 and over, and the environment has really taken a beating as an issue. You know, we've seen it dropping to single digits, sometimes low single digits. So it's not going to be top of mind for many voters. So if you can establish a policy that deals with the environment in a way that is different from the carbon tax, and essentially take it off the market. You know, I think what we've seen from the Conservatives over the past couple of years was we need to get rid of Justin Trudeau. Now they have that. We need to get rid of the carbon tax. Now they have that too. So it's going to be difficult to try to connect when the animosities that you built over the past couple of years are no longer there.
Mario, as you know, election campaigns matter. A lot can happen during the course of a campaign. And watching Carney speak yesterday, I think it's fair to say he doesn't seem to be an electrifying speaker. How do you think his style will play out in a campaign?
I think it'll be a campaign of contrast. You know, we've seen Pierre Poilievre more as a firebrand, discussing things and maybe shouting a little bit more on his rallies. Yesterday, we saw the contrast between Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney as well. He seems to be more subdued, more poised. It's going to be a completely new challenge for him. He's never been elected to anything. He doesn't know what it's like to run a full federal campaign, traveling from one city to the other, hearing from many constituents. I think it's ultimately whether the voters age 55 and over, and to a lesser extent the middle-aged voters, find something in Mark Carney that gives them solace, that makes them think that they no longer have to vote for the federal Conservatives if they want change. And it's going to be very complicated to do in a short period of time.
Nice chatting with you, Mario. Thank you.
My pleasure, at any time.